Hey, if you look over here at this whiteboard, I'm going to take just about 2 minutes to explain who Marketplace Connections is, why we do what we do, and then share about this Rwanda opportunity that has come up. Right in the center is the whole idea of connections right here. We are all about connections in 3 different areas. Our first one is business connections, and we work in 3 cities in India. And what we do in India relates to this brochure that's on your table. There's about 4 of them there. Go ahead and take one. I don't have time to go through the whole thing, but in India in 3 cities we teach entrepreneurial leadership training. In the middle of the brochure are 6 classes that we have taught. Several people in this room have been with me on trips. We do this on a regular basis, usually October, January, and March, and take business people like yourself with us to teach short classes on entrepreneurial leadership. This last year, we just connected up with another organization to work in Malawi. And this year, we're connecting with Mark Mielbrecht. Mark, raise your hand over there. Mark has been working in Africa for 20, 25 years, something like that. And so Mark and I are now part of something called Marketplace Connections Global Partners. Global partners are people like Mark that have a lot of experience internationally. So Mark and Robin, where are you, Robin? Robin is going to be going on this trip in July with a 3rd person to take entrepreneurial leadership training to Rwanda. So that's a new opportunity that has come up for us in the last year or so. The other thing that we connect up is relationships. I try to follow in John Taylor's footprints. John Taylor is all about relationships and community, right? Show of hands, you agree? So he's my example, and everything that we do in Marketplace Connections is all about relationships. We also do what are called discovery groups. There's about 8 of them in Bellevue and in Edmonds. There's a whole variety of them. The one that we do just down the road at Church Key Pub, Charlie and John, hands back there. We hang out at the Church Key Pub at 5 o'clock every other Friday. We're reading the book, The Reason for God, which we are just finishing. We have a beer together, we don't stumble out, and we have a very, very good discussion. Very lively, trying to tackle big questions that people ask about life and God and those kinds of things. So that's the 3rd thing we do. Back up here to Rwanda. Mark and Robin and a lady named Cheryl are headed there in July. They're going to be working with an incredible opportunity that is addressing issues of genocide. There's a ministry there that is bringing the 2 tribes together through some incredible programs that they have put together. When Mark was sharing about this, they're going to bring about 20 or 30 people together from the villages to give an African version of entrepreneurial leadership training. We need to assist them in coming to this training. So with our Bellevue group and with our Edmonds group, I wanted to give Mark an opportunity to share with you how you can participate financially with what they're doing over there. So Mark's going to come up and give the background for the program. And
Christopher lost his father and 3 of his brothers during that time. And he, in his own personal testimony, his story, he had a lot to be angry about. And so he joined the military because he thought he could exact revenge through the use of the military. But that didn't work out so well. And he actually met the Lord Jesus Christ and established a ministry with his wife, a work over there on reconciliation. So he's actually bringing people together now, victims and perpetrators of the genocide, to work through these huge issues of reconciliation and forgiveness. This is a time period now, 22 years later, where a lot of the people who were incarcerated for their crimes are now getting out. Well, when they get out, the only place they have to go back to is the village where they grew up or where they committed these crimes. So you can imagine if you were a victim, you lost your husband or even your children, and now the perpetrator is back in that small village. It creates some real issues. So he and his wife are doing a miraculous work there. I actually had a chance to go back in November, and this is a small group that I sat in. The men there murdered these women's husbands, and some of them even murdered their children, and yet you see them sitting in the same room, which is a miracle in and of itself. But Christoph and his wife lead them through an entire week workshop where they go from being on two sides of the room to actually sharing a meal together, sharing their stories. They have a phenomenal program, and one of the ways that they bring people together is called Cows for Peace. Believe it or not, this cow is the instrument that brings Beata and Peter together. Peter murdered Beata's new husband. She'd only been married about a year, and she was pregnant at the time, but brought them together after they've been vetted through the workshop. And their job for the next 9 months or so is to raise this cow, to feed it every day. It's pregnant, so they basically have to take care of it and keep it from getting sick or dealing with it when it is sick until it has a baby. And once it has a baby, Peter gets to take the baby and she gets to keep the cow. But in the process of this, she goes from being terrified that she might run into him in the village, and he basically puts himself in house arrest because he's afraid that he might run into her, and what if she, puts new charges on him or something. They go from that to where she actually puts a pot of tea on when she sees him coming down the path, because he's going to feed the cow, and then they're just going to sit and have a conversation. So that's the kind of work that Christoph and Diana do over there. It's having phenomenal impact on the country. One of the things they've done is they've created this peace farm to create a sustainable income for the ministry, for the work that they do there. So this is the main building, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. But this is on about 20 acres of farmland in a rural area. That's the kitchen, you can see. Pretty rudimentary, but they do a mean goat kebab, just so you know. They raise cows for obvious reasons. They've had, I think, 4 calves in the last year. They also raise goats, which provide lots of babies and milk and meat for them, and they sell those. They also have pigs. They've got, I think, 1 boar and 7 sows, and so in each of them can have anywhere from 5 to 15 babies, and so that's another way that they're expanding what they're doing. 300 chickens, they're hoping to grow that to 3,000, so they're getting eggs aplenty every day. Also bees, so they're raising bees for honey, selling those. And then this is cassava, which is a root, kind of a vegetable like a potato. They've actually worked with the government to create a really substantial, high-quality seed, and so they get to keep some of the cassava, and then they're giving it out to different communities as well. And then this is one of, I think, 200 fruit trees. This is a papaya, but they're having a whole orchard of different types of fruit trees. And then this is mushrooms. They're growing in a shipping container with milk crates. So they're producing lots of mushrooms. And then this is what I wanted to talk about. This is that building you saw from the outside. This is the interior. You can see, and there's walls, there's windows, there's a roof on top. Christoph and the ministry have plans. They want to turn this into a training center so that people can come and learn those 8 different venues that I mentioned, so that they can create business opportunities, especially in an agrarian society, all these different farming type things. So they want to do a training center there. But they're a couple years away from actually having this be a place where 18 to 20 people can sleep. They need a bathroom. They need. They're hoping to have a shower in that. They're also trying to put together about 18 bunk beds, and I have all this broken down here, which I'll share with you in a minute. But you can see it's a decent place, and it's a place that we can have a training in July. But it kind of bumps the whole thing up about 2 years, right? To be able to have our training there, to be able to bring people from around the country, and to really create a venue so that we can do multiple trainings and have kind of a beachhead in Rwanda. We figured this is a really great place to start. So that's just another picture of the room itself. And then these are the kinds of people that would be coming. This is some of Christoph's staff, so we want to train them in entrepreneurial leadership training. This is Agnes on the left. She's part of a minority group over there called the Pygmies. Pygmies are found in the Congo. They're found in, I think, maybe parts of Uganda and Rwanda. She's one of very, very few who have actually, been to college. She's going to start college here in the fall. And Karsa's helping send her to college in Kigali. So strategically, I think it's great because this farm is real close to her village. So we're going to invite some people from that village who really don't have a lot of training or entrepreneurial opportunity, and they can actually walk to the venue. So they won't have to stay there, but they can come every day and participate. And then there's going to be other people too. So we're counting on about 30 to come from around Kigali, and Christoph's helping vet and bring the right kind of people there. So this is the cost I wanted to break out really quick for you guys. For the facility, which again, we're planning on using over and over again, so this is a one-time cost. But for the toilet, the shower, water connection, you can see $695. Bunk beds, total of 9, so that would be 18 beds there. And then mattresses, bed sheets and bed covers, mosquito nets because of malaria and other things. So that totals about $3,500. And then for a lot of these people, you need to feed them. You bring them together and you need to feed them. Many of them are coming from other parts of the country. So food for 5 days for 30 people is listed there. And then training materials, including translation of the materials into Rwandan, which is a main language there. Printing, binding, pens, notebooks, whatever we happen to give them that they can work through. And then transport. This is obviously fuel over there is extremely expensive too. So this is to get people to and from the venue. So that's about $2,300. So for $57, almost $5,800, we can again accelerate and create this facility for training, not just for this July, but for the future as well. And I think it's a phenomenal place. I mentioned the 8 different things that they're doing there. These are the kinds of things that these people will be doing all over the country. They'll be doing other things too, but I think it's a great place for them to get the training to be able to do these, raise these different animals and farm and stuff like that. So we've had a little over 2,000 committed so far. So we're down to about $3,800 that we're just, trusting God for, and wanted to throw that opportunity out to you guys just to consider. No pressure, but I do have a sheet at each of your tables for your contact info. Especially if you weren't counting on writing a check today, it's totally fine. There's an envelope there. It would go to CoLink, which is where John has funding like this earmarked for. And then if you just put your name, email, and phone number there, I could even just send you an email and remind you what we're doing, etc. So if you don't mind doing that, and then bring this home. If you can't write a check today, or if you can, make sure John gets this at the end of the day. So appreciate you listening to this. If you have any questions, I'm going to be around the rest of the time too. Thanks, John.
You did not come today expecting to hear this. We normally don't do fundraising type things at any of our meetings or in the last 3 or 4 years, but I felt so compelled to have Mark come and just share what he was going to be doing in Rwanda. We're partners in this together with Marketplace Connections and with the agency that he works for. So I just thought it was such a compelling opportunity just to share with you. If you want to give financially to it, on the envelope write 977 India/Africa. This goes to CoLink. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization registered in the state of Washington. It's a tax-deductible gift that you would give. And if you would like to give, we'd love to have you partner and be a part of it. It's on the board there, right? Mark will give us feedback on the trip, how it goes, what takes place, but we feel like entrepreneurship is really driving a lot of what's going on in the world today. And so this is something that Marketplace Connections really, really wanted to be a part of.